Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Back Hash, where we talk about things in the pageantry arts world. My name's Sid, and joined with me is Zach, Chris, William, and a special guest. Chris, I'm going to let you kind of introduce her.
So, this is Katie. Katie, say hi.
Hello.
Hey, some of you might know her from the Twitterverse or Xverse. I don't know what you even call it anymore, whatever that is. But what's awesome is that we had a connection. We're all Western alums. She works for Western now, or WKU. And I thought, hey, we have to have her on here to talk about her experience and all the awesomeness that she does with Phantom and things like that, and her connection to DCI and all that cool stuff. So, so that's who we have on today. Special guest. You're the first person, I will say, we had that we did not have like a direct connection to. So we appreciate you coming on and
yeah, of course.
doing all this
Thanks
stuff,
for having me. I'm
For sure.
excited. This is cool.
So I guess we always kind of spitball for 5 minutes or so, but everybody doing well?
Yeah.
It continues to get cold.
I wish.
It's cooled off just a little here.
It's
It's almost
terrible.
fall break. It doesn't feel like fall break yet, though.
Oh man, I can't
No,
wait.
at least it's been
I'm
nice,
so
though.
ready
It's
to.
70s, 80s kind of
Yes.
nice couple days.
Mhm.
Finally
Nap.
broke the heat. That's the
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all staying down there, apparently. I just got to tell my mom earlier today that today it only got up to about 57.
Oh,
Last
Oh.
night it was 42.
oh, I wish. I
I
can't
can't
wait.
wait. Yeah,
I was like,
Y'all
y'all
say
could-
that now.
Listen,
and,
y'all,
in,
exactly.
I'm so
See,
and in
excited.
2 months, y'all gonna
it
say,
come here, it's gonna
I
be
just want it to be
Yeah.
50 again.
Okay, wait.
it is gonna be 48 feet of snow.
Okay, but I
Up
was in
here.
Colorado for the past 2 years, so that's kind of what I know. Like, I lived in Denver for the last 2 years, so I'm excited for it.
well.
I'm excited for the cold.
Okay,
That's
so
a
you're
different
gonna-
kind of cold, though.
That's,
It is.
Yeah, that's true. Drier.
You just
It's
wait.
the worst
Right
part.
around here, it'll get like 12, and then the next day
Yeah.
it'll be like 70.
Yeah,
it's-
wait till you
That's
gotta walk up the
Kentucky.
hill.
Yeah.
Wait till you gotta walk up the
Yeah.
hill in the frigid winter winds.
Oh, yeah. I haven't had to go further than outside of like Diddle and the student union, and I plan to keep it that way. So
That's
Union.
smart. You got to go to the hill at least one time just to
that's
feel.
what I've heard. I'll probably
You
do it
gotta
at
do it
some
once.
point, but I need to get through.
And no,
volleyball
you
season
can't
first.
borrow the athletic department golf cart either. You gotta walk.
That was my plan. That was my whole plan. What the heck?
No, gotta walk it and take Big Red with you.
Yeah.
Oh
Gladly.
gosh.
The
Extra weight.
the best mascot in all of
I-
mascot kingdom.
I love Big Red so much just because. So apparently, I've been told Big Red is an it. Like, it doesn't have pronouns. Like, Big Red is it.
Yeah, it's it. Yep.
And I love it so much because it's just this like blob, and it's our mascot, and I kind of
Oh.
love it. I don't know why. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Texas alum, so Bevo like all the way. But there's something about Big Red that's just like, cute. I don't
Like,
know.
one of my favorite stories about Big Red. We were at a conference basketball tournament, and we were doing a pep rally for the team to walk out from the hotel into the bus, and they had like this alumni thing there, and they were serving chicken fingers. Well, Big Red decided to grab some chicken fingers, and he was messing around and dropped the chicken fingers on the ground. And Cheeto was like, "You got to pick that up." And it doesn't matter. It's something about people in a costume. It just makes it like 10 times more hilarious. Looks at the cheerleaders, picks up the rug, puts the chicken tenders underneath the rug, drops it, and walks away. And
Get it.
He's the only one.
That's
they're the only
hilarious,
one,
Seriously.
Oh,
Like, I'm telling you.
and you can't be mad about it.
No,
No.
I
Right.
laughed.
Big Red steals your wallet. You can't be mad.
Right.
Steals your baby. I mean, that's
Steals your baby. Can't be mad about it. You're like you don't ask for your baby back. You take a picture and say, "Hey, Big Red took my baby."
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Also, I'm apologize if I'm sniffly. I have sinus issues, so we're just riding the struggle.
Welcome to Kentucky.
I was about to say that sounds about right.
You're getting the
I'm
full
not
treatment
alone.
in the first few months.
hmm
It might snow tomorrow.
It might. It's different.
I'm
We
prepared.
have-
I'm ready.
We have 16 seasons here, so
hmm
I think I think we just ended third summer. So
Yeah.
No, because they think a lot of folks be thinking that it's a game. What was it? Not this past. I think I came home last year around August for my birthday or somewhere around there, I think me and you said it. I think I went up there to BGDR when I came home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That same time, I was only there for like 5 days or so, for like a week. So I came in, it was like 80 to 90. Then it rained and flooded the next day. Then it snowed for like 2 days, and then it got hit by a tornado in downtown Hoptown. That was that same week when all that happened, when Hoptown got hit with the tornado. That was that same week.
So when Will comes to town, you make sure you leave. That way you don't have to.
It's like I'm literally stopped coming back to Kentucky because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, the many seasons of Kentucky. But all right, let's get into it. Zach, you are interviewer extraordinaire. So
all right, so we'll start with we know that. We know because we followed you on Twitter and stuff that you spent the last summer being the photographer for Phantom Regiment. But before we get into that, I want to know: did you march drum corps, and if yes, when and where? What corps?
So I marched 2 years. I marched 2019 with Guardians. Shout out Open Class. And then I marched 2021 with the Madison Scouts. I actually was originally a 2020 age out. And of course, we got the bonus year. And then in addition to that, 2020 was actually my bonus year. So we called it the golden year because it was bonus. And then I got the extra year. So I get to claim being one of the oldest age outs in DCI history. I aged out at the ripe old age of 23. And I finished my career with the Madison Scouts. So the first one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Mr. William Gray is an alumni of the Scouts as well.
Hey! Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm an old head. I was in 03.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, back when they were still doing the nails and stuff like that. I had did they give y'all any coins or anything?
We did because we had a couple of members from Japan.
Oh, okay.
So we got yens, but we didn't get anything other than like our nails.
Okay.
Which I still have one. Funny enough, I have a nail that I met.
Yeah, I do too.
Actually, which is kind of crazy. So, but yeah, that sounded really weird. But he's a great guy, I promise.
So left out in that moment right there.
Was the 2021 season when you were with Scouts? Was that the celebration year, or was that the year after that?
No, that was a celebration one where
what a good show!
Three Ties and Luke.
That was the year we
wished. What a show to do! That show was
like we wished.
Probably my favorite one that night.
Judged.
So if you ever watch that show again, which I highly recommend you do, there is a single red flag that like opens the show. That's me. Like I am, I'm like the red flag soloist at the beginning of the show.
Okay, react.
It was fun. It was cool. It was a really cool experience for my age out.
On the back
we're at Indy. We're in like we're front row.
We were sitting right next to the staff, where the staff go up in the stands. We were right by them.
I love that. I love watching the staff react like during shows. It's so fun. Mm-hmm.
Who was it this year? Whose staff? It was their guard staff. Was just over the top hype, like more than normal over the top hype. I think it was Mandarins.
I was gonna say I think it was Mandarins.
I think it was like Mandarin's guard like blinked correctly, and they were like, yes, like fans in the air and everything.
Yes, I'm just excited that Scouts made finals again this year. Like that was
that part.
We all were.
I don't know
like we were all excited for them.
Had me sweating all season.
Oh no, literally. And then I remember, so the week leading up to it, I had been, like, the visual caption head, Sierra Rogers, and I became really good friends during 22 when I was on staff. And I was texting her the entire time. I was like, I really hope you guys make it. Like, I would love nothing more than this for you guys. Because I think she's one of the first female caption heads, like, in DCI, along with the Troopers' visual caption head. I think there's, like, one other that I can't remember. But she's one of the first, which I think is incredible, but also do better. And so I was friends with Sierra, so I was texting her. And that week leading up to it, it was post like Allentown, which we didn't like march, but it was kind of at that point where we realized like, holy crap, like the Scouts could make finals this year. And I remember semis, I think we went on fourth or fifth, I can't remember. And by the time that we had gone on, it had like been released that Scouts were going to make finals. And I'm going to get emotional because it's just like, I'm so happy for the organization. I remember like walking out of the tunnel semis night And Sierra just happened to be there because they were all just like cheering, and we just like saw each other, locked eyes, just like ran and just gave the biggest hug, and it was just like, oh, I'm getting emotional. Just incredible that Scouts came back, because like I remember after like the 18 season, people were like, yeah, Scouts are done, because Heart and Soul, like not the best show for the Madison Scouts ever, and I think that was really a turning point for the organization, because you saw 19, and I can't remember what it was, or if I'm like, I can't remember if they were working on the decision or had already made it by the 19 season. I can't remember the timeline, but basically, like the understanding was that was the last show that it was going to be all male identifying members, and then for it to turn around the way it did, and now they're back in finals. Like watching Scouts' like journey since 2018 has been like one of the most special things ever, and to know that like I got to be a part of that in 2021, not only as like the resurgence of Madison, but like also just being one of the first women to march the cores, like I will take that to my grave. Like that is one of the best experiences like I could have asked for ever.
You see,
I mean, I remember sitting at that celebration show, and when Scouts performed, I remember sitting there just like, man, that's the Scouts sound.
Yeah.
That's what we.
It's just different.
And I mean, I think that was definitely a turning point once they allowed it to go, co-ed, then I think you really saw the talent infusion that happened, and it's paying off now.
Because you can,
oh my gosh, yeah,
you can hear a lot of people when co-ed, everybody's like, was it a mistake and blah blah blah.
Oh my god,
are they going it's all kinds of stuff.
We talk about your talent pool.
Exactly, and
but
it causes
tradition.
it forces you to change stuff, man. And because even we talked about on the cast, man, at some point, we were trying to figure out, okay, when did it happen? Because I just remember looking up the first show that we were supposed to see, Flo Martin jacked up, and I like lost it, and because I hadn't seen the show, and then I finally see it, but I kept up with the scores because I'm sitting here looking, I'm like, wait a minute, am I reading this like the music scores right?
Yeah.
And the color guard scores, and I was like, wait a minute, I get to percussion and I start crying, and then I was like, okay, percussion, y'all got to get it.
Not only the finals though, but like there was a legitimate chance that I thought they were going to beat the Cavaliers. Like there was a point where I was like, they could beat the Cavaliers. Like I thought it was going to happen.
It would need it. The percussion would have had a need to like got it together like 3 or 4 shows beforehand, because that's what was hurting him. Right, and I don't know what changed, and I'm glad whatever they did, you can tell small nuances of change in the perk book that just was like, okay, we are now just supporting the core right now. And it worked, and it got them there. But if the perk could figure something out and had created maybe 2 to 3 points, it would have been just enough to top Cavies. It wouldn't have been major, but it would have put Cavies at the bottom.
Yeah,
if that would have happened
this year, I was excited for that. Good.
If that would have happened on finals night, I would have been on the field.
Oh, it'd have been erupted.
I'd have been on the field, and I would have said, I told y'all.
I guarantee you, the whole arena would have erupted.
Yeah, it would.
Easy.
It'll erupt.
Yeah. That was a tangent.
Man.
Sorry.
No, that's what we do.
How we roll.
This is what happens. People don't seem to understand. This is what happens.
Why we have 1.5-hour episodes.
And I love talking about drum corps. So this is easy too.
We could do it all day. So my next, kind of like a second part to that question. So you said you were at Guardians first, and then you went to Scouts for the COVID year, the celebration year. What made you choose Guardians originally, and then same thing with Scouts?
Okay, so to get into this, I kind of have to like give my origin story, because that's kind of the explanation behind everything. So it all started for me in 2012. I was a freshman in high school, and I was marching my fall show, as one does. Winter Guard comes around. I was also a softball player. I had tried out for softball. I made the varsity team, was doing both for a little bit. Ended up quitting Winter Guard because I wanted to play college softball. Fast forward 7-ish years, I had played college softball, didn't love it, transferred to University of Texas, where I was a manager for a couple of years, for 2 years. And at a point in that second year, I realized that I couldn't be a manager for my senior year. And so I was kind of like, I'd always thought to myself, like, if I don't do drum corps, I'm going to regret it. And I kind of think of it as like the invisible string theory. Like I was still going to shows. I was still kind of keeping up with drum corps, but was never super like integrated. And by the time it got around to the spring softball season of 2019, I was like, I really feel like if I don't do drum corps, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. Like I have to do this. I have been following it for as long as I've, can remember. Like I have a little bit of marching experience, and I remember following this person on Twitter. I cannot remember their name. I remember their Twitter handle, Lay Latte. I can't remember their name to save my life, but shout out them because they had marched Guardians in 18, and they were also a member of LHB. And so we had kind of connected over Twitter, obviously like being UT students at the same time, and they were in LHB and they had marched Guardians. And I'd asked them, I was like, why did you do Guardians? And they said that it was because they're based out of Houston. So they're local, they're easier to get to, you're not paying hundreds of dollars to go to camps and, that kind of thing. And I was like, do you think that would be a good place like to start, because I want to do drum corps. And they're like, absolutely. Like there's no doubt about it. Like Guardians is it. And so I was just like, okay, cool. I need to figure this out though, because I have softball still. Like I was still working with Texas softball. And I remember I was in this class where a professor was like being a stickler about, not missing events on the weekends or whatever that were mandatory. And so I remember going to the coach and being like, I have this like event that I have to basically go to be able to pass this class. And the professor's not letting me miss. And it's this weekend, like it was a weekend in April. Can I, miss the series? I think it was Texas Tech we were playing. It was like, can I miss the Tech series? No, it's Kansas. Can I miss the Kansas series and, stay in Austin to go do this thing? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Like, whatever, no big deal. Well, funny enough, I looked for April camp at Guardians, and it just so happened that like the weekend I took off was the weekend that they had April camp. And I was like, okay, what are the freaking odds that the one weekend I took off the entire season happens to be camp weekend? And I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe I should just go do this. So if my assistant coaches at Texas softball are listening, I'm so sorry, but I did not go to my class like I was supposed to. I went to instead. So sorry. But the
statute of limitations.
I can't. I graduated. I got my degree. They can't take it away from me.
That's right there.
So, and it was even crazier because this was like in March. So like as time progressed, it was kind of like, like planets aligned, like everything like was working out a little too well. Like I had posted about it on Twitter, and somebody sponsored like me getting a flag and like gloves off of Amazon so I could practice. I had gotten connected with the guard director at LHB to kind of help me, get back into the swing of spinning and that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, like I'm really meant to do this if all of this is happening this way. And so I auditioned for Guardians in 19, and my mom was like, why are you doing this? And I was like, because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. Like I have to. Like I applied the same thing to softball. It's like, if I don't play in college or at least try, like I'm going to regret it. And I did it. Wasn't for me, move on. No big deal. Same kind of logic here. And I remember that camp, I was petrified because I hadn't spun in 7 years, and I had only been like teaching myself how to spin again for like the past month. And I was just like, oh God, okay, this is going to go terribly. Go in, it's open class. I remember just like freezing during the flag audition, because like I could not pick up choreography quickly. I was not one of those guard girlies, unfortunately. And I still got a contract. And I remember like looking at the piece of paper that said like, congratulations, I'm gonna cry, you're a member of like the 2019 Guardians. And I just remember like driving home from camp that Sunday and just kind of thinking like, oh my God, like I did it. Like I am marching drum corps. Like this is insane. And so Guardians, to answer the question, was where I went because it was local. It was easy for me to get to. And in hindsight was probably the best decision I could have ever made, because if I hadn't done Guardians, I would literally not be talking to you guys today. And that organization changed my life for the better. They were a fantastic, the teaching staff was incredible. The admin was incredible. They did the best we could, even when literally half the corps got E. coli during spring training. That was great. Literally half the corps. It was awful. It was because the entire county used the same egg distributor, and that egg distributor had an E. coli outbreak, and like the CDC got involved.
Wow.
So yeah, I picked Guardians for that reason. And then I was really, really glad I did it. It helped me build my confidence back up, like as a spinner, as a dancer, taught me a lot about myself. And just super great. I can't speak enough about the experience. Like I'm so glad that I did Guardians. And then so leading into what I thought was going to be the 20 season, I was like, okay, this is going to be my age out, like go big or go home. And I admittedly was one of those that wanted to march top 12. Like I was, I wanted to march a finalist drum corps, that kind of thing. But I also knew that Scouts, like halfway through the season, had announced that they were going co-ed or all gender. And I was like, that would be really cool to be a part of. Like, that's super unique. Like, why not? So I had auditioned, funny enough, for Mandarin Scouts, and I actually did audition for Phantom Regiment as well. So 20 season goes by. I got cut from Phantom. No big deal. Again, like, they ended up paying me to be a part of the organization, so I think I got the better end of that deal.
I was like, that worked out for you, I think.
And so I got a call back at Mandarins, and I had gotten a call back at Scouts. And I remember just being very torn up about what I wanted to do, because the Mandarins choreography I was obsessed with. I was obsessed with it. And I was like, it's so pretty. I want to spin that so bad. It looks so cool. Like, I have to be a part of this. And then Scouts, it was like, yeah, but like you could be a part of like history. And I was like, so torn. I posted that on Twitter. Like 2019 was weird because it was like, if you posted a bunch on Twitter and like you got popular, and I kind of got popular because of it. It's kind of weird to say that out loud, but like people know me from Twitter, whatever. So I posted about it, and eventually Andrew Worth, who is now my nail from Scouts, like DM'd me one day, and he was like, hey, can I talk to you about Scouts? I was like, sure, yeah, I'm open to anything, whatever. And he was like, based on what I've seen, like from your tweets and what you've posted and the videos I've seen of you rehearsing, he was like, I think you would be a perfect fit at the Madison Scouts. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, I think you are the epitome of a scout. Like, I think that, just based on what I've seen, like you are a scout, like you have what it takes. Like you would be a good fit at this organization. I was like, okay. But I don't know. I still don't know. And funny, he knew before I did that I was going to go Scouts. And I think what really got me was I'm like big on tradition. I grew up in a really big family, so we have a lot of family traditions, and like I'm a Longhorn, so like by trade, if you will, so like tradition's there. So like, tradition's really important to me, and I thought that was a really cool component of like the Madison Scouts organization, is how big tradition is there. And I was like, I would want to be a part of that. And so Andrew kind of knew before I did that I was going to be a scout. And I remember telling him one night, I was like, I've made my decision. He was like, you're going to be a scout. And I was like, how did you know? And he was like, I've known since I spoke to you. And I was like, all right, fine, that's valid. So I remember like that happened. And so it was like November, and Andrew was like, I want to be your nail, and explained to me kind of what being a nail meant and what it was. And he was going to offer, and he was like offering to pay for my flight to move-ins and going to help out with some of my tuition. And December is when I had gotten cut from Phantom. So by then I had already had my decision made. I was like, I'm going to go Scouts. Like, this is easy. Like, I think it was January, actually. Timeline's a little screwed up. I got my callbacks in December, basically figured it out by like January, February, what I wanted to do. And of course, March, COVID hits. DCI cancels the season, and I'm just like devastated. I was like, what am I going to do? I remember sitting there like in my apartment wondering like what I'm going to do career-wise, but also like what am I going to do about drum corps? Because I was already a bonus age out, so I was already going to be marching after I graduated college. And then on top of it, it's like, well, if that's the case and I can do 21, like how is this going to work? Like, how am I going to do this? And I remember calling Andrew for like an hour, and we just kind of talked through all of it, and I was like devastated because it was going to be my age out. Like, I wanted to age out in drum corps. Like, that was like the ultimate dream for me, was getting to age out. And I just remember sitting there like on my kitchen floor just like crying, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just don't know what's going to happen. And he was like, just sit tight, just hold on. Like, you don't know what's going to happen for the next couple of months. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID. Just keep your head up. Like, we'll see how it goes. I was like, okay, like, I suppose so. April comes around, and I get an email from David Lofi, who is now the corps director at Scouts, and was like, congratulations, you are a member of the 2020 Madison Scouts. And I remember kind of being confused at first, because they had talked about it. We had like done Zoom calls as an organization, and they had alluded to it. They had talked about it. And then to get that email, I remember just kind of being like, we're not doing drum corps though. Like, what do you mean I'm a member of the 2020 Madison Scouts? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so basically what we did is we did like online drum corps basically for the 2020 season. Like, I did video assignments. I did lessons with the guard instructors all throughout the 2020. It was like basically taking a college class all over again. It was kind of fun. I actually had a lot of fun doing it. And I was supposed to answer why I chose Scouts, but I feel like this is all pertinent. Anyways, So 20 happens, and I was like, okay, that was something. I was like, cool. I didn't get a core jacket because I didn't feel right getting a core jacket. I was like, I did not physically march. Like, I'm not going to get a core jacket. And so then 2020 rolls around, and they were like, we're going to give all the bonuses, all the 2020 age outs an extra year. And I was like, I'm going to be 23 by the time I age out. How the hell is this going to work? Well, it turns out I still had a class I had to take. So I was graduating fall 20 anyways. And my lease was through the spring. And I was like, well, the world's kind of still on pause. I guess I can make this work.
There it is.
And I was like, I guess I could make this work. And so spring 21 rolls around, and I dropped actually for like 6 weeks because I was like, I can't do this. Like, this summer is not going to happen. And I remember talking to so many of like my Scouts friends, and they were like, Katie, no, like you have to do this. Like, this is, you've invested too much at this point. Like, you got to see it through. And I was like, okay, what if I went somewhere else? And that thought actually literally never crossed my mind. I knew it was going to be Scouts from the beginning, just based on the brotherhood and the camaraderie all throughout the season. And 21 was the best summer of my life. And I'm so glad that I chose the Madison Scouts, because the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the tradition, just everything I could have ever wanted out of my drum corps experience, I got in 21. And while I would have, like, I'm a competitive person, I was raised as an athlete, I would have loved a competitive season, don't get me wrong. However, like, I will take getting to perform in Lucas Oil 3 different times as a soloist, no less, over competing, ever. Like, bar none. People were like, wouldn't you have loved to have competed at be a scored season? I was like, yeah, but how many people get to say that they marched 3 times in Lucas Oil? Like, only the top 12 can do that. Now Scouts can too. Now the Scouts can, which is phenomenal. But they hadn't prior to that since, what, 15, I think was the last time Scouts were in finals?
We just talked about this.
Yeah, we
it was
just talked
17,
about
I think.
17, yep.
time,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, been a minute. And I was like, I was just really glad at the end of the day that I chose Madison Scouts. I credit Andrew Worth for it. I would not have chosen it without him. And at the end of the day, like, just the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and honestly too, just getting to be a part of something like bigger than myself, because my littles that I took on in 22 and 23 were Scouts women, like female identifying members. And I'm going to get emotional because this is the most special thing to me ever. But to know that they get to march there now at an organization that, like, I know and love with so much of my heart is just really special and just a really incredible thing. And none of that would have been possible if it were not for the Scouts, because at the end of the day, like, I got to be a part of something that was so much bigger than myself, like so much bigger than myself. And it's just like, that legacy is really, really cool. And I'm really grateful for it. Wow. Sorry.
Hey, you fine.
That's what you get from, something that you're passionate about. And I think that's something that I think, we all grew up in athletics and in band as well, but like, there's something special with music when you're making music with people, or you're spinning with people, and that sacrifice you make for that, it's special, and something that you want to see continue to grow and be better than it was when you were there, so right. I really feel like that's something unique to drum corps and the pageantry of the arts, for sure.
Especially like when you think about how many people have to work together at the same exact time to perform a well-produced show. Like, I'm thinking back to like Phantom Regiment this past season, like some of the drill that we had, our spinning cubes, like everything, all 165, which is insane that it's gone from 140 to 165. Yeah. But all 165 members on that field had to be working together at the exact same time, doing exactly what they were supposed to have pulled off that show. Yeah. Like, that's just wild. And I don't think you can get that. And football is like the closest thing I can think of, having 11 players, but that's only 11 compared to 165.
And they get subs.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't even play all the downs.
Yeah. They're not in every rep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So, kind of while we're talking about Phantom, kind of talk to us about that experience and how that all came to be.
Oh gosh, my journey with Phantom Regiment, crazy. So 22, actually back end of 21, age out internships. Madison Scouts, they do age out internships every year. There was a media one, and I was like, I have a degree in journalism, but like University of Texas J School is like a print journalism kind of thing as opposed to like multimedia. And I was like, I could write for them. I could do copywriting. I could do feature stories. Like, I could apply for this. Like, let's give it a shot. And so, like, I can't get into my regiment story without giving the full backstory. And I get through the interviews, I get offered the job, and they were like, here's the thing, though, we need you to bring a camera. And I was like, what? I thought we were just going to... And they were like, we need you to bring a camera, like just in case we need to take photos here and there. I was like, okay, I can do that. That's fine. My grandma, was a photographer, so I was like, I can ask her if I can use one of hers or something like that. And me internally, I'm like panicking though, because I was like, I don't know if she's going to give me one of her cameras. I was like, what am I going to do? So I told him yes anyways, because I figured out. Christmas rolls around. She gives me a 5D Mark III in a 2470 f2.8, which is like the creme de la creme of like DSLR cameras that you could possibly have. Like that is one of the best like setups you could just be gifted. Like it is a probably a $3,500 setup, brand new.
You could have said any combination of letters and numbers, and we'd be like, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
That sounds like a great camera."
Long story short, I was handed like a professional grade camera as somebody who had literally never shot a single photo in her life other than like her iPhone. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out, and I will learn how to take pictures, I suppose, and we are gonna go from there. Because November rolled around, and I had gotten COVID, so I couldn't go to camp. Come to find out, I was like, what's the social media plan for the weekend? What were you guys gonna do? And they were like, oh, we were actually gonna have you plan all that. And I was like, again, not in the job description, but okay. So I quickly realized that my role was gonna be a little different. And March camp rolls around, and I was like, well, I guess I gotta shoot camp. I have to shoot camp. And there's a Discord that exists, a Marching Arts Media Discord. Is Tony McCracken is who I credit because he taught me everything I could possibly know about my camera, and then some, and then of course trial and error. So 22 happens, the summer goes, and find out that not to brag, this is going to sound like a brag, but I'm kind of good at photography, just kind of naturally, which is great, and I have an eye for it, which I'm really grateful for. And I was named Rookie of the Year by the Marching Arts Media Discord, but voted on by like 80 people. It was an incredible honor because it was the first year that they had done those kinds of awards. So named Rookie of the Year was phenomenal. And much like a 5-star recruit has coaches calling them September 1st, I literally ended the season and within a week had offers from 5 different drum corps to shoot for them for the following year because my internship at Scouts was only a year. And I was like, okay. So by the time I had moved to Denver, which was probably about 10 days after the season, Colts, Blue Stars, Cavaliers, Phantom Regiment, and Blue Coats had been like, hey, we want you to come shoot for us. Blue Coats was a social media marketing position, so it's a little different, but still kind of getting recruited by them, if you will. And the Phantom Regiment photographer at the time, Dan Regalado, who has become a really good friend of mine, real dear friend of mine, had told me the night after finals, he was like, I recommended you to Robert for the Phantom Regiment photographer position. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I'm not doing it again. I recommended you because I think that you would be really, really good at it. And I think this would be a good fit for you. And I was like, okay. Because understand, Phantom Regiment was the core for me. I remember watching Spartacus in Winter Guard rehearsal and that was it. I have been a Phantom Regiment fangirl since I was 14. And I was just like, you're telling me that I'm going to get to work for them? Okay. So time goes on. I meet with Robert Cawthorn, who is the director of media and merchandise at Phantom Regiment. And I had my list of things that I wanted, to be able to go work for an organization. I'd kind of talk to people. This is what you need to ask for monetarily. This is what you need to ask for time off. Da, da, da. And he was like, so I'm going to pay you this much. You're going to have this much time off. And this is what you're going to do for me. And I was like, that is all of those are things are more than I asked for. Okay. I'm not even going to argue.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Exactly.
I was coming in ready to ask for 3,000 for the whole summer. And he was like, I was going to give you 5. Let me know if that's not enough. And I was like, I got 1,500 my first summer. I'm good with 5. So yeah. So 22, November 22 is when I kind of officially started working with Phantom Regiment. Is kind of what I say. Obviously, I didn't actually work for them until the summer. And so summer of 23, what was the question? They were just talking about Phantom Regiment, right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I'm
just
going on a tangent.
how
Just
you
how
get
you
involved.
get
Hey, no, you do.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I get one
Okay.
topic and then I might drift into 7 other ones.
I just wanted to make sure.
Like-
So Journey with Phantom Regiment. Right, that was the original topic. Got it. So 23 rolls around, and I am intimidated as all get out because, again, this is a corps that I have loved since I was 14. In my eyes, they are some of the best in the business. I've always been obsessed with their brass sound. JD Shaw is incredible. I love that man so much. And I'm just a low brass. I'm a sucker for low brass. So it all being youths, I was like, yes, please. And I remember going into 2023, like thinking, what am I getting myself into? I was like, what the hell is about to happen? And it was just an absolute whirlwind because I was unfortunately dealing with the passing of my great grandmother at the same time. So it was like I had been in Iowa for like 2 weeks, missed the first couple of days of move-ins, came back to drum corps, to start with Phantom Regiment. And they were like 5 days in already by the time I had joined. I think it was like 3 or 4 days, something like that. I get a call like a week later that my great grandmother had passed. So I had to be gone for another week to obviously attend the funeral. And one of the things that really stood out to me about Regiment just out the gate was Robert did not hesitate to, because we were in Charleston, Illinois, so it was easier to drive than to fly. Did not hesitate to pay for my flight, pay for my rental car and pay for my gas, and even like gave me a little extra to get food like on the way. Like did not hesitate. I was like, I have to go to Iowa. I need to get a rental car. My family and I are going to get one. And he was like, put in a request. We're paying for it. And I was like, oh. And that was one of the moments I remember where I was like we spell family with a PH and like they mean it. Like we mean it at Regiment. And I was like, that was one of the first moments where I was like, oh, maybe this was a really good idea. So I attend the funeral, I come back, and that was just kind of when I hit the ground running and just went for 23, did the best I could to throw myself into it. Hearing Elsa's procession to the cathedral for the first time was like, I will never forget that experience because they sung it the first time I got to hear it. And Regiment getting to sing it means more to them than playing it. I think in the same way Neverwalk, like singing Neverwalk kind of hits harder than playing Neverwalk.
You do.
So it's kind of that same thing. And I remember like sitting on like, we had like that stage. I don't know if you guys remember in 23, we had like that stage at the front of the field, and I was sitting on it. The rest of the corps was around me because I think JD was in the middle no, it was Carrie. She was conducting in the middle. And I remember sitting there just goosebumps. And some of those photos that I got were like some of my favorites because it's just raw emotion, like just pure raw emotion, getting to sing, Elsa's. And I was just like, wow, like this is actually insane. Like this is incredible. This is an incredible experience. Like this is everything I could have ever wanted and more, being a part of Regiment. And, and that was spring training. So spring training was in Charleston, Illinois, and it was insane. But like, I had never felt so welcomed by a staff just out the gate. One, like, let's be real, everybody wants to be friends with the photographer so you can get pictures. But like on the real, like everybody was so nice. Everybody was so helpful and understanding. And Robert was so incredibly supportive. And like anything you need, like I got you. I was like, okay. And I remember, do you guys remember the dinosaur post that came out in 23? Like we posted, like we did dinosaurs on Instagram, and we were just like, it's just another day with Phantom Regiment. If I showed you the guys' photos, I'm sure that you would remember it. But anyway.
I think vaguely.
Yeah. So that came about because I was ready to ram my head into a wall because we couldn't post props. Like they're very strict about it. No big deal. And Photoshop had just come out with like a generative AI beta. And we were just like screwing around one day. And Robert was like, I swear I'm working. And he sends me a picture of what was props, but replaced with dinosaurs. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, we have to run with this.
I think I remember that now.
Yeah. So we posted it. I did a couple photos, posted them, and it went like viral, kind of broke drum corps Twitter. Like our board, the Phantom Regiment board got calls asking if like the props, those dinosaurs were our props. Like it went all the way to the top. Like they were pissed. They're so mad. They're like, why are we getting phone calls about the drum corps? Wait a minute. I was like, don't look at me. It's not my fault. It totally was. And so 23 happened, and it was just like, I cannot put into words Exogenesis. Like that was such a special show because that was, we talk about like 21 being Scouts' like turnaround, like kind of, we can pinpoint that start with Phantom. Wow. Just going from 22, which wasn't a bad show by any means, but going from like, it was like what, 10th place? I can't remember. It did not do well. I know that much.
Yeah.
To Exogenesis, which we're playing Muse and we're playing Rachmaninoff. Like we broke people's minds a little bit because they were like, they're not doing an all classical show. We're like, no, we're a little different over here. And so Exogenesis, like I cannot put into words what it was like getting to be there for that show. And the members were just incredible. They had adopted me like within the first week of us being on tour. I remember feeling just very at home. I was like, this is an insane, like the admin were all women, which I love first, except for Dwight and Joe Taylor, obviously. But all women, which love, because like being a woman on tour is hard. And just, man, 23 was just so special for so many reasons. And we get to Lucas Oil and we're like, yeah, this is like a really good season, but we could tell that like that wasn't it. Like we hadn't peaked and we knew it and we could tell. We could just, going out of 23, we were just like, we threw down, we knew that was a good show, but we know we have so much more in the tank. And that brings us to 24 and oh my God, like I'm getting chills just talking about 24 because like like
24 is nuts, bro.
That was
pretty sure I said it multiple times that it's in my top 5
me too
of everybody and I couldn't stop talking about the show. I was like, dude, this show is legit.
Like, it was,
like I really did like it.
We
that
just had
hard.
cubes for our props, and it was the most creative prop work I've ever
what happened
seen.
is when I figured out. What happened is when I figured out what the cubes meant, and then everything started clicking, and then I was like, "This show is even better now." Thanks.
It was so like just so creative because like you had the opening formation, and it was literally the mind opening, and that was like the whole. And I was just like, I could never come up with this. It's like how, but like. Getting to be part of 24, like I still have chills. My mom gets mad at me because like half my closet is Phantom Regiment merch now, which no big deal. But like, oh my God, it's just oh my God. Like we knew. I remember we were okay. So we did spring training in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is only an hour away from us, which is awesome. And I remember we did our first full run through of the music. I think it was like that very first Friday. Like move-ins were Tuesday. By Friday, we had done like a full run of the whole show. And we had done, I think we had done I can't remember if it was like the full version or if it was like the abridged, what you heard up to San Antonio. I can't remember. But I remember just sitting there and I was sitting with a couple of my admin girlies and we like look at each other. Am I allowed to curse? Is it preferred?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I just want to make sure. We like looked at each other and we were like, holy shit. Like this is going to be something special. Like this is going to actually, that was like the moment where we all just kind of like looked at each other and we were like, this could be it for us this year. Like this could medal, which we're so close. And just my journey with Phantom Regiment, I can't put it into words, to be completely honest with you. It's just like, it has been the most fun I've ever had. It's been incredible. The growth in my photography has been super fun to see, to look at my photos that I took like week 1 compared to some of the photos I took like finals week of this year. The growth is insane. And I think a lot of that is because of the trust that was kind of built up between myself and the rest of the Corps and the rest of like the staff. Everybody being so open with each other, the members, you know, being accepting of everybody there and just not really having any issues whatsoever. Like I got to see everybody in some of their most vulnerable moments, but also in some of their best moments. And I mean, I have a chevron on my elbow now. Like I can't really like put it into words, my journey with Phantom Regiment, because it has just been so freaking special to not only like get to be a part of 2 of some of the most probably pivotal and arguably like iconic years of Phantom Regiment, aside from like 08 to 12, whatever, but to have gotten to tell the story. Like that has been the most, I think, special part. And then of course I was named like best like outstanding storytelling by my peers, and that was a really cool award to win this year, because I have always said that the action shots are the easy part. Like people think I'm crazy, but the action shots are the easy part. You know where the members are going to be, you know what they're doing, you know what, you know, whatever. That's the easy part. The hard part is telling the drum, like the story of Drum Corps, like what it looks like day to day. That is the hard part. And Josh Clemens at Bluecoats is a photographer that I have looked up to since, you know, I started back in 22, and he's won the award for the past 2 years. And so for me to have won it this year alongside him, like just the honor I felt when I saw that, because that validated that I was good at what I do. Because my imposter syndrome, mind you, I went into 22 not knowing how my camera worked, then working for like my dream organization and basically being named one of the best in the activity. Like that is insane to me personally. that sounds like a brag, but like I mean it. Like it is wild. So to have gotten that award was
you gotta brag on yourself sometimes, man.
Listen,
You got to.
sometimes,
and people think it's condescending or whatever, but
sometimes especially with people with imposter syndrome, because I think I have it. It's God will, or whoever you believe in, will be like, no, you're awesome, and I'm going to continue to put you in situations to prove how awesome you are until you actually believe it.
Yeah.
So you can fully serve your purpose. So no, I completely get it. It's not a brag. It's it's letting people know, like, hey, I got a gift and I'm sharing it.
It's so special to get to share it in the way that I do, because earning outstanding storytelling. There we go. Tells me that I was successful in telling the members a story, which is the most important thing to me, because what gives me purpose and what drives me as a photographer is knowing that I get to document these moments in the members' lives that they will carry on like forever. Because I remember how special the like 3 action shots I got in 21 were for me. Like I still look at them. Like I love Tony McCracken for getting them forever. I know how special those are to me. So to know that I get to be that person for somebody else and I get to be there to document this experience for them is so special, because I want to make sure that they have it to look back on. And that's like what drives me. That's kind of my purpose. I do it for the members at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's what we do anything for, is for the membership. And so to know that I told their stories well, and my peers thought that too, was a really incredible kind of experience. Just like, I remember I was in the softball press box like last Wednesday when the awards were announced, and I couldn't stop crying because I was like, that I feel like I've made it. And winning that like alongside Josh Clemens kind of told me that I now belong to the upper echelon of drum corps photographers, which I remember looking at Zach Ashcraft's photography in the early 2010s and thinking like, I want to be him one day. Like I shit you not. I was like, I want to do that. That looks cool. And then to think of where I am a decade later, like invisible string theory is real, y'all. Like it's crazy. Like it's so real. But like I can't put into words, honestly, my experience with Phantom Regiment. It has been a dream come true in every sense of the word. It has been an honor. It's been a gift. It's been just, and I've learned so much about myself too. And I've grown so much in the past 2 summers. Like full summers aren't easy as staff. Like full disclosure, like that's hard. That shit's hard. And funny enough, I haven't like made this public quite yet, but I feel like it's kind of known at this point that I won't be able to return as the full-time tour photographer next year. Now that I work at Western, I just won't be able to, just taking time off. But I'd like to think the universe was looking out for me, putting me only an hour away from spring training. And my boss at Western understands how special this is to me, and he was like, if they want you to freelance for a couple of shows, like please go do it. So I think it's really kind of cool that I was put an hour away from spring training. And I really want to be there for 25, because Phantom Regiment kind of does their shows in 3s, like every, like, if you will, a trilogy, if you will. And I can't wait to see what they do for year 3, because I know that I think we've already had like 1,000 people sign up for auditions or something like that already.
That's awesome.
Like it's actually, I mean, I could be exaggerating, but it's been a lot already. I know that much. And I can't wait to see what 25 looks like. I can't wait to be there for it. It's touched me in so many ways that I can't even really put it into words. Like I got invited to a Phantom Regiment wedding in May that I'm like super excited to be at. And just the organization has a really funny way of like, if you're meant to be with the organization, like you'll feel it. And I really feel like I was meant to end up with Phantom Regiment at the end of the day, I think. Yeah. Like
you talk about.
Go ahead, Chris. Real quick, if anything, if 23 and 24 is any indication of what they got brewing for 25, I am all aboard the train again.
He is the conductor of the Phantom train.
I'm telling you, I'm the same way. I've loved Phantom for a long time. Spartacus is one of my favorite shows, and to see them back with that. So if 25 is anywhere close to what's happened here, I have excited
no idea what they're going to do yet. I haven't been told anything. But
we're not looking for any inside scoops either.
I don't have any, unfortunately.
Yeah. So like
we want to be surprised just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I haven't like said it out loud yet that I'm not coming back as the full-time tour photographer, and that hurts. a lot. Like, it sucks. But that's life. I'm just really grateful that I get to be so close still. Like, we have 4-day work weeks at Western over the summer. So like, you bet you bet my ass is gonna be in Owensboro first thing Friday morning, or even like before ensemble on Thursdays. Just to get to be there, and I'll still get. I mean, I thought I like added up the amount of time that I'll get to spend with the Corps, and it's still like half of tour, really, honestly, because I think it's like, I think it ended up being like 35 days, I think, in total. So I don't know. I want to stay involved as much as I can, and it just sucks. Passing it off is going to be really hard, but I did my time. Shit, sorry.
Hey, this is
that's what it's about.
Anytime we do like stuff like this, interviews and stuff, and we talk about, it doesn't even matter, like drum corps, regular marching band, indoor, whatever. The rawness is what hopefully the viewers who do get to see this get to see, because these are emotions and behind the scene things that freak them out. It's like, can I have that kind of experience? And then when we bring people in who show this much emotion or can tell a story in a certain way and express this to them, that lets them know that yes, you can. Because there are so many out there that freak out about auditioning for anyone. Because they're not good enough. This, that, and the other. But then hearing your story is like, oh well, if you just go, kind of deal. Circumstances can fall in the right places. Maybe somebody there's lots of things that these like people need to hear, need to understand that hey, this is all this is possible. And stuff like that. So it's I personally I like seeing that, like, let the emotions flow, man, and tell the story, because I'm the same way. Like, I could said no, like I'll be talking to kids and then talk about something completely different than what I was yelling at them for, or it just, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like I want to say so much to explain, but then I need to tell this story too to explain what I'm trying to say, and then this one's going to make sense once I get back to here. But
many 5-minute breaks have turned into 25 because we just want to make sure the kids really understand what we're trying to get through. And for you, that's Phantom. For me, that's my indoor group. For Will, that's Scouts. For these guys, it's high school. Maybe the high school. I don't know. Maybe you have to get experience at East. I don't know. But it is that experience. For you started at Guardians, and for somebody, that Phantom feeling may be at an open class Corps. Like, it's just that place for them to belong and to blossom and to grow. And, the activity is more than the scores, man. It does so much more than the scores.
I tell kids, every kid I teach, I tell them all, I was like, y'all have no clue what this whole sport that we call sport can do for you in real world or 100%. Whatever. Like, it opens so many doors to just other things that you didn't think that you could do. It brings skills to like regular jobs or something like this or that. Like, it does so much crazy stuff, man. It's just all you gotta do is get involved, man.
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I was just kind of bouncing off. Yeah, you're the guest. You go first. They hear me talk all the time.
Right. I was gonna go on another tangent, so I want you to go first, please.
I was just gonna say, like you talk about, you said it yourself in 21. If I don't go, I'm gonna regret it, and that's the exact same thing that I went through. And I had the opportunity to go to a Blue Stars audition, but we had a football game, and I was in BRMB at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna miss out on part of my stipend if I miss this game. And they probably end up losing anyways or something stupid. But, I will forever say, what if I'd have went to that camp for Blue Stars? I could have, I could have marched at Lucas Oil or whatever. And just kind of going back to the emotional connection, I think that's one of my favorite things about sitting so close to the field at finals. Like, the last good 2 minutes of the show, I can watch nobody but the front ensemble, because it is just pure emotion coming from those kids. They're looking at each other. They're crying as they finish the show because they know that it's the culmination of everything they've worked for. They may never see any of these people again, and they've spent this whole summer with them, making music and bonding with them in ways that no one else can, through this activity. And, just being that close and being able to see that, and experience
Yeah.
that as a fan, it's one of those things you can't replicate it.
And I think I think the members honestly are what make it so special. Like I think as a photographer, because you get invited to a part of them that not many people get to see. Like
You see them at their best and their worst.
Yeah, I've seen some of these members at their best. I've consoled some of them at their worst when they're hitting their walls. And I think that really is kind of what makes the experience, is just the connection. It's impossible not to feel connected with the members when you spend the entire summer with them. Like it's impossible. Some of the kids that I've already told that I can't be on tour, like, have been devastated. One of them's like, "Oh, it's my age out," and I was like, "Fuck, you shouldn't have said that."
You're not helping.
Yeah. Because it'll be the third summer that I've been with the kids, so like I've really gotten to know them and that kind of thing, and it's just like I'm gonna look back on this experience in like 20 years and just be so grateful for it, because
I'm telling you.
Oh God!
I'm telling you.
I need to keep it together.
Listen, because I tell people all the time. I don't know if Scouts did this to y'all, but for us, like we would always sing the core song before we went on to the show, and for some reason, at finals, they didn't let us do it. The whole core tripped out. So we're in finals going on.
Yeah.
I think we went on like after Blue Coat or somebody. I can't even remember. And we're in the tunnel, just looking at and I don't know if you remember from that year, we line up on the sideline, basically on the end zone, straight line. And I'm with one of my friends. I'm just like, bruh, I don't know what to expect. He's like, we're all just like freaking shaking. Go out there and, oh God, we laid it down.
Yeah.
Laid it down. And then we're in the tunnel, the back part, where most of the horns are lined up and stuff like that. The whole staff gathers us up, and then somebody busted out the pitch pipe, and then they had a singer right there. And you want to talk about faucet? Water just died.
I remember.
It was like, I can't believe y'all made us do it like this. It was like, oh God.
So I have a really special Never Walk story from this year. So one of my littles is at Phantom Regiment this year, and that's been a really, really great experience to kind of see her go from Scouts to Regiment. And it's Whitewater. Obviously, that's the Scout show. And the Scouts were the last to go on. There was like this 20-minute intermission because the lights at Whitewater went out, and they played Slaughterhouse. I think they played Allegheny. They played a bunch of different things, and obviously they played the show, and then the encore comes on, and they played On Wisconsin. They had played the polka tunes. I forget what it's called, and they play Never Walk, and I immediately am like, oh no, I hadn't heard Never Walk since semis of 22. Like I had not heard it. And I just remember being like, oh no, like I'm going to be a freaking mess. And I was standing with some of the staff, and I like look at them and I was like, I'm going to start ugly crying. I need you guys to know this. And they were like, it's okay. Like we're here. I was like, this is a big deal for us. Getting to like just hear Never Walk. And I remember like the first note,
it's all it takes.
Instant tears. I was like,
that's what I was about to say. As soon as you hear that first note.
As soon as you hear the first note, just instant tears. And funny enough, the section that I was sitting in was like the topmost section of the upper level of Whitewater. And my little was sitting a section down and over one. And I remember like the guys that I was with, obviously the tradition is, you put your arms around your brothers and you kind of just like sing together. And I'm losing it. Like, oh my God, I'm crying so hard. And they put their arms around me and, kind of participate with me. And I just remember that being really special. And then I remember, God, I can't even talk about it. I remember looking over, because William, the tradition after you sing Never Walk is to hug your brothers. And I was like, well, none of these dudes are my brothers. Like, I'm not going to hug them. That's weird. And I remembered my little was sitting one and over, and I was like, I want to go over there and hug her, but I'm not going to do it if she's not reacting the same way. Staff member boundary kind of thing, right? And I was like, well, if she's having the same reaction, I think it's okay. And I look over, and she is ugly crying, just like
every one of us.
Ugly crying.
Every one of us.
And I remember, as soon as I see her, I didn't even hesitate. I leapt out of my seat, like leapt over the bleacher, ran over, and I was like, Rebecca. And she like looks at me and just immediately just runs straight into my arms. And we just like hug and we lose it together. And that's like probably one of my most treasured memories from the season.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, like my videographer was with us, like in that group of staff that I was with, and I didn't know this, and he was like, I go back and he was like, you're gonna want these, and airdrop me like photos of me and my little just like hugging, and I was like, oh, I can't do this because I remember in that moment just like being so stinking proud of her, because to know that I was the first and she is there because of what myself and all the other female identifying members that year did is incredibly special. It's incredibly important. And to know that she is now with Regiment, her dream corps, because of the Scouts was just like, I can't put it into words. William, I know you get it. I know you get what I'm getting at. But that was bar none, like one of my most special moments of the entire year. And it was so funny because I did like a photo dump at some point over the summer, and I included that photo as like the last one in my Instagram carousel. And I had a couple of staff members, they were like, what was that photo with you and Rebecca? And I literally was just like, it's a Scouts thing. Like, I can't really explain it. And they were like, oh, okay. And they just like walk away because like they know, they get it. But that story was more just like reinforcing just kind of how the members make the experience all summer. Yeah. They're incredible humans. I love every one of them with all of my heart. They're so special. And I think Regiment attracts a really special type of person. And to see some of them have aged out and moved on, and to see where they are now, but to see where some of the younger ones are starting to come up, and just how talented and how dedicated they are, and just all around just like incredible people. Like Regiment is very picky, and rightly so. But that membership is so special, and I just to get to be around it even a little bit to be the one responsible for capturing it is, I can't put into words, how much it means to me. So, I'm really grateful that I'll still get to do it, at least in some capacity, next year. But of course it won't be the same. Like, I won't be there for the really crappy Midwest shows, which all kind of suck in their own special ways. But I'm looking at you, Cedarburg. Like, Cedarburg is so bad. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of not mumbling. I'm just kind of rambling
No,
at
you're
this
good.
point.
No, you're good.
Well, I mean, think about it. How often do you get to talk drum corps with your new position at Western?
Not super often, because nobody gets it. Nobody really knows what I
Yeah,
do.
so
Nobody really understands, which sounds so
That's why we
cliche,
sit and talk
but-
to each other for hours about
Yeah.
the activity.
Yeah.
And then eventually we were like,
yeah.
we've been talking about doing this for a long time, so let's just start a channel. And here we are.
Yeah, I just, and my time at Western has been awesome. I really enjoyed everybody there so far. I work with volleyball, which is really special because they're such a high caliber team.
And an amazing
they're
coach.
By the way, a
great.
side
I love
thing.
Travis.
Did you do the video today where what's her name?
I was responsible for it. I
recorded?
didn't film it, but Kennedy,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Where's Mike? She's mic'd up the whole time.
Yep.
That was grade A stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. So I guess we can kind of segue to Western a little bit, but what I've been able to take from Regiment and what I've done social media there and how I've applied it to Western has been really fun. It's been really cool. One of my big things in my interview that I talked a lot about was I really like the more intimate looks that you get in drum corps with some of the media that we produce. And I think it was I have always kind of looked at it as like a really great way to kind of get to know the corps without being a part of it, like kind of you get glimpses of what they go through and that kind of thing. And I applied that, to my interviews when I was interviewing, and I was like, I want to do this at the college athletics level. Like, I want intimate looks at the teams. I want fans to get to know them, because at the end of the day, if you get to know something, you're going to probably become more of a fan of it. Like, in the same way that it's like, you may not be a fan of a corps, but then you see their show in person, you're like, whoa, well, I've been, like Troopers was the one for me, like Voracious, like was insane for me. Not a troop
Like you've
fan
been
until
sleeping on
Reach, and I
them.
was like, yeah, I'm done. That's it. I love them. And
See?
so, and now
Mhm.
I follow troop, and I have friends that teach there now. And so, in the same way, I was like, I want that at Western because I think it's really cool to have a top 25 caliber team like Western is. Excuse me, Western Kentucky. My boss would kill me if they heard me refer to it as Western. And
We've been going over that debate. Okay, so let's just. Okay,
yes,
hold on a second.
yeah.
Okay,
I can
this
get
has
into it.
been
I've
going
been told the story.
on for ages. Okay,
Years.
if you are from this area, this region, it's Western. That's
It's
usually
Western.
what it's called.
Yep.
We went through this whole big old brand shift where we want to be with WKU for a long time, and then the last, I don't know what you say, 6 years or so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pushing back
It's
to
gone
Western
back.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
So it's always because everyone's like, well, what if it means Western Kansas? I'm like, well, then you know what? I
Well,
guess
Ain't nobody
we're not
calling
doing
it
good with our
Western
brand,
Kentucky.
but
You're right. Well, I mean, in the same
Y'all
way,
done
that,
got 30 plus years out of me. It's Western.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was
Western.
because Western Kentucky,
It's
like
too many
as a
words.
university, wanted to be seen at the same level as like University of Kentucky, and
Yes.
just calling it Western kind of delineated it to like a regional school.
Yep.
Which is
Oh,
kind of why
we are well
wanted to
aware.
rebrand. Yeah. So you know, it's like the same thing about like I think it used to be Texas State used to be like Southwestern University or something like that. Now it's Texas State, so it's kind of a similar rebranding. But yeah, no, getting to take what I've learned at Regiment and doing social media there and applying it to Western Kentucky's volleyball team has been really fun. I've really enjoyed it. It's nice having a creative team because I can just be like, hey, can I have this video? If I provide you the resources and they're like, yeah, I got you. Like the sign this video that we did, that one was super fun. I emailed their parents and was like, I need really embarrassing photos of them from like middle school. And almost all of the parents got back to me. And so we did that video and I thought it was a blast. I thought it was really funny.
Is it the trend where you have them sign the autograph of the embarrassing picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was
That was a good
fun.
one.
I liked that trend a lot. And I thought it was a really neat way to get to kind of know the girls a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think you kind of saw some of their personalities in each of the photos. So
that's
the whole thing.
I'm on the WKU Athletics fan committee, and that's one of the things that we talked about is, especially with the transfer portal and players coming in and out so often, like one thing about Western and all the kids that come here say that they love the community and they love how the city of Bowling Green embraces them as athletes and students and all this other stuff. And that's one thing we talk about as fans is like, we want to get to know these players on a personal level because we know how they are on the court or on the field, but we want to know them outside of being an athlete and being a person.
Right.
And so we talked to, some of the media and marketing people about what can we do to get to know them. And like last basketball season, we started the 100 feet on the hill with and that was kind of one of the things that I brought up at the committee was, they do 94 feet with Jay Billis, in NCAA March Madness. And I was like, we need to do something like that, just something quick that could be played during the game that gives us a little bit of insight on each player and get to know them and things like that and see their personality. So any kind of content like that, it's, like I said, especially with the transfer portal, and you get kids for a year and then they're gone, or they come as a graduate transfer, and by the time you get to know them and really start enjoying them on the court, they're done. So getting to get that personal connection to the athletes is awesome.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see some of that this year. I think marketing is really taking it and running it with it, which has been awesome. Volleyball, we did a 94 feet series. We called it Behind the Net, but it's with our seniors, Kaylee Cox, Kennedy Coyle, oh my God, I'm blanking. Katie Howard and our grad transfer, Madison Chitty, who came from Rutgers. And so I thought that was a really neat kind of thing to see them kind of talk about, their time on the Hill, what they've really liked from it. And then obviously in Chitty's case, transferring, coming from a Big Ten school to here, what it's been like for her and that kind of thing. That's kind of the goal, at least for me personally, what I'm trying to do. Is to get to know the players more, because I think it's important, and I think it's important that the fans be able to connect, because if you can connect, like drum corps, we see this so much, right? Like if you can connect with the show in a certain way, like you tend to like it a lot more, you'd be a bigger fan of it, and I kind of want the same thing for our athletic teams. So I'm trying for volleyball. I think marketing is killing
Well, I'll
it.
let you
though. I'll
know
give it
you
to 'em.
couldn't have picked you couldn't have got a better crown jewel of the university than the volleyball team.
The fact that it was an entry level position kind of blew my mind a little bit because I was like, volleyball is entry level. I would think that like a team of that caliber you would give to like one of your more senior SIDs, which I'm not complaining for the record. Very grateful. It sets me up really well for my future, my career in the future and that kind of thing. But yeah, wow, what a whirlwind the first 4 weeks were. My mom would check in. She's like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm holding on for dear life right now because I, as a graduate assistant, did not have volleyball as my main sport, but I had to call it because it's a small department. So I knew enough to get by, but I did not know as much as I probably should to properly cover the volleyball team as an SID, and everybody knew this coming into it, so that wasn't a secret. But learning the sport and learning the team and learning the nuances of the sport itself within this 4-week span while we're playing, I think subtract like 14 matches in 30 days, 16 matches, something like that in 30 days. I just was like,
it's not like they were playing just any Joe Schmo teams either. They were playing ranked opponents, Power 5, everything.
Yes. So we played University of Kentucky our first weekend. The second weekend was Michigan State. And then we hosted Illinois, Dayton, and Marquette. And I just was like,
Tennessee.
And Tennessee too. I forgot about that. And I was just like,
Yep.
Okay, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like, it was still really cool because like hosting Tennessee at home was awesome. Like that was so cool. And I've had so many like pinch me moments of like I'm a Division I SID, and like that's insane to think about. Like that's super kind of the same way. Like I'm the photographer for Phantom Regiment. Like I'm a D1 SID. Like I was a manager like 6 years ago. Pause. Like what's happening here? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like drum corps media is actually a pretty transferable job career-wise, or skills-wise to what I do now, because it's kind of the same like foundation in terms of like you're telling the stories, like you're telling the stories of the sport that you're with. Yep. And so it's very transferable. And then obviously like having a degree in journalism has really helped too. But yeah, I don't know. Western's been so much fun. I love it here so much. Everybody's been absolutely fantastic. And like, I'm excited to work softball. I obviously played softball. Like that is my sport. I'm so excited for that season, but also like.
You have nailed it.
Volleyball
and softball?
I know, right? I love it. I get home for Thanksgiving. I get like 2-ish months off, over Christmas. Like couldn't have asked for better. And like the summers cut off just right to where if like I ever could convince my boss to let me work remote, I could still do drum corps. I'm just throwing that out there. Scott Swegan, I'm putting this out into the universe. If you ever let me go fully remote, I'm taking
Hey, Scott's a pretty nice guy. He might go for it.
Oh my God, no, are you kidding me? Scott Swegan?
Yeah.
The most incredible human I could work for. Bar none. Like, I love him so much, and I would tell that to his face because he has been just the best boss I could have ever asked for. Coming in, doe-eyed, not knowing what the hell is going on. And being like, yeah, no, we're good. We're going to hold your hand for a little bit, and then we're going to set you on your way, but we still got you. Like, you're good. Everything's fine. And I was just like, wow. Like, I really screwed up today. For example, media guides. Coaches' bios didn't get updated. I thought they did because media guide had been done over the summer. So I come in to finish it up. I thought coaches' bios were done. They were not, and we put them to print, and they came back today without updated coaches' bios, which is a really big deal. And I texted Scott, and I was like, I royally screwed up. Coaches' bios were not updated. We just got the media guides back today. The coaches' bios have to be updated. Like, it's important. And he was like, how did that happen? I thought they got updated. And I was like, yeah, me too. And so I didn't check them because I trusted that they had gotten done. No big deal, And so I was like, so what do we do? He was like, we're just going to fix it. I was like, oh, okay. He was like, we're going to fix it. We're going to get them reprinted. We're going to pay for it, and we're fine. And I was like,
He's like, I don't know how to act.
Yeah, I was like, I'm costing the department more money.
What?
You're not mad at me? And he was like,
Communication?
no, why would I be mad? He was like,
help.
This is part of being in a transition. It sucks, but it is what it is. You can't do anything about it. And I was like, that's really refreshing. He's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody that treats you like a professional. It's a thing, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. So grateful. And
So,
it's funny to see where. Oh.
No, you go.
he worked at Texas, so it was really fun to have that connection too. Like he
That's
was
cool.
at UT 16 and 19, so we bond over like being in Austin, like living in Austin, because I grew up there. So like living in Austin, what that was like, working at UT, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Kind of getting back on the drum corps page to kind of wrap
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
First of all, when you're talking about capturing the moment with Phantom, the photo of the member dropping their core tag, the dog tag, is one of the best photos
Oh
that
my
I've
gosh,
ever
thank you.
seen from
Are you
the
talking about
activity.
just the hands, the one with like
The
just
black
the
and
hands?
white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I love that.
Yeah,
photo.
that is such a cool picture.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank
so,
you.
but yeah, typical other questions we asked, you kind of already answered, like any good stories or memorable moments for tour. You went through the whole shebang with that. So,
Sorry.
no,
No.
we didn't have to ask it. You just did it.
Right.
It was awesome.
Organic.
I told
man,
you
that's
that's
what
what them
we
Yeah.
Kansas do.
I also hope
Yeah.
that I wasn't like speaking super quick. I have a tendency to like talk very fast. I
No.
apologize to any listeners who
Are you straight?
are.
It's fine. They can turn on subtitles if they need
Right.
it.
True.
Or slow to speed
Slow
down.
down.
I'm about to
Right,
say,
There's options,
right, right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Wine button is
So, last couple questions.
Yeah.
What is your favorite drum corps show of all time?
Ooh. Okay, so my gut reaction is Spartacus, obviously, because that was like my first show. But I would be lying if I said I haven't been a Bluecoats fanatic the past couple of years. Change is everything. This past show, this year, like that is going to be up there for the rest of my life because
It's gonna be up there
I
for
love
a
Stone
lot of
Lux.
people.
Oh yeah, I love Stone Lux first and foremost. So their closer is one of the Stone Lux songs, and I loved it. Very pertinent and applicable to my life right now. But I think that the Bluecoat show this year is kind of the definition of pushing the drum corps, like pushing drum corps into modernity, and I think that they kind of nailed it this year.
Have you been listening to any of our? Have you been
Yeah.
listening to our episodes? 'Cause
No.
this is what we've been talking about
We've been
for a
trying
long.
for
You were
so
talking
long.
about Phantom stuff, and I was like, yeah, we hit that on an episode or two this summer, and even from the 2023
All this stuff.
season. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Validation, and it feels so good.
I'm finna say it's valid. I'm like, we are validated.
Yes.
It's nothing else.
Okay, like-
for so long.
So 22 was, I loved 22. I really liked 22. 23, The Garden of Love was also a really, really good show. I really loved the message behind it. But I think what Bluecoats have been wanting to do is like pushing the drum corps culture and experience and just shows in general into a completely different direction. And I really think Changes Everything kind of nailed it because it took so many like traditional parts of drum corps. Like some of the drill was absolutely ridiculous. The visual was insane this year. Having a 40-piece trumpet section at one point, like having the mellows, swap over and all that kind of stuff. But also just putting this such like a modern twist to it. One of my friends put it best the other day. The Bluecoats out Blue Deviled the Blue Devils this year, and I think I actually kind of agree with that. I very much agree with that. I think it's what the Blue Devils have been doing, but maybe have plateaued a little bit, and the Bluecoats just took it, put a little bit of their like spice on it, and now it's just completely different. So
Listen, I was
think you just
hoping
need to be
for
a member of this podcast for us time.
Listen.
I feel like we just got. It's like yep, all there.
The conversation is going to be had after this podcast.
Yes. Listen, because I was pushing for 2 upsets this year, and I wanted them so bad. One we already talked about. I was like, I really wanted Scouts to jump caddies just enough.
Yeah.
0.001. Yeah, that's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And then I wanted Phantom to boot BD.
I
wanted it so bad.
I'm going to say it. I think
was
the drum
so
corps
close.
gods and the judges had it out for us a little bit. They didn't want BD getting knocked out quite yet. That
But
might
see,
be a controversial take, but
it's hard. It's so hard to say because that BD show is fire.
it was clean.
They
good.
played
clean.
like it's ridiculous.
But I'm sorry.
I went censored.
We took first in
had
GE
to
on
censor a little
semis. I'm
bit.
just throwing that out there. We took first in GE
Oh.
on semis. Just throwing that out there. I'm just saying.
Don't matter if you can't march and play.
True.
That's what I tell our kids all the time. Don't matter what your
Yeah.
GE package says if you can't march and play.
That part.
Yeah. No, but it was. I mean,
No.
us beating Crown. That was, I think, the craziest. I remember it was Murfreesboro. It was when we first beat Crown all season. And
Yep,
that
we were there.
Like,
Yeah, we were.
oh,
calling
duh,
stuff
because Murfreesboro is so
mid-season.
close.
We don't
I
talk
remember
about that
walking
school
back to the
though.
lot, and that was also the first time Boston had beaten BD. I think.
Think so.
Yeah, it was that day was just crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Boston
Oh,
PT,
yeah.
we beat Crown, and I remember walking back to the lot, and all the Boston kids are like hugging, like cheering, crying, basically. And then it comes out that we had beat Crown, and all of a sudden, all of our best drivers start honking their horns. Core director was pissed. He hated that. He did not want that. But yeah, so us beating Crown, I think, meant more to the organization this past summer than I think medaling would have. Just because it, for us, really meant that, like, Phantom was back. Not that we were ever, like, gone, but, like, really cemented the idea that, like, Phantom Regiment is here and we're here to stay, which I thought was really cool.
I mean, you think about the last decade.
It's tough.
The last decade, it's been, you know, Crown's one of the groups to, you know, people want to be, and to be able to beat them in, you know, brass and like it's crazy to think about, like you know that stuff was going on. So like I said, I was on that hype train. I mean, I was the conductor on this podcast for Phantom, man. I love me some Phantom. So
I never thought it was gonna happen. I just wanted it to happen.
What, us beating BD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen. We would have.
I knew it wouldn't, but I wanted it to really bad. I was like,
I think it was the Canton show where we were. I think it was like almost like a point over from each other, and that was kind of when we were like, okay. There were definitely moments where we got close, but I think was BD at Canton? I think they were. That was kind of the show where we were like, yeah, this isn't going to happen, and that's okay. Like, we're totally fine with not beating BD because we've already beaten Crown, and that was enough for us.
I will say the day that we hear 4th place Blue Devils, I think
Lucas Oil is going to be no more.
We're going to riot.
It's going to be insane. I just wonder what they're going to do different next year because they've not been as successful as they would have liked to have been. Because that was the first time BD hadn't been top 2 for like a decade.
All I know, if
they're going to win with 1,000.
This past season poked the bear at all, it's going to be just ridiculous.
I'm so excited for
the next 20 years. They might win straight. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
They're going to levitate the whole show. Hover on the field.
You're not even
touching the ground.
Hey, can't miss a step off if you don't have to step.
Oh, you're right.
That's true.
Right.
I got a random question. It's kind of random.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Since you've been in Bowling Green, out of the 9,000 restaurants that are in here, what's your favorite place to eat?
Ooh. Okay, so my least favorite is Rafferty's. I can tell you that.
Least favorite?
Turn it off.
All right. Well, guys, that's been an episode of
End the podcast right now. I'm out.
What just happened?
You were doing so well.
Cut the show. Cut the show. I'm done. Cut the show.
Done.
We're done here.
Maybe I didn't have like the right thing, but it was just kind of the most mid food I've ever had in my life. I was just like, okay.
Man, that hole just gets deeper. You can just keep on digging.
What did you have?
Chicken tenders.
Probably.
No. It was some pasta dish. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, that's where you messed it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where are you supposed to get it? Nobody told me.
Marinated ribeye.
Steak's the way to go.
Marinated ribeye.
Yeah,
I get the backyard barbecue burger.
Or the Hawaiian chicken.
Steak, though. So Tony's has been one of my favorites recently. Like, I really, really have enjoyed Tony's. I'm a steak girl through and through, so Tony's has been like perfect for me. But if it's not Tony's, then I've actually really enjoyed Toro. I really like the tacos. I like a really good cocktail menu, which I love too. I'm a sucker for a good cocktail. Like, you can't see it, but my bar cart is very well decorated and very well stocked. But yeah, Toro's been up there for me. And yeah, I mean, it's probably been Toro or Tony's have been my top 2. So yeah,
sweet.
Those are good choices.
Yeah, but Rafferty's apparently was that.
I don't know about that. Will, your camera is still off.
He's still gone. He is not coming back.
Mad.
The Rafferty slander was too much.
I turned it back off. It should be back on.
Apparently
you
haven't.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. My computer does dumb stuff sometimes.
I'm about to say, it's on.
Me and Will have shut down Rafferty's on a many
literally.
occasions.
Really?
No, I mean like people putting the chairs upside down on tables, like,
Really?
and
Yeah,
Literally.
we would go there after a practice.
What
And
was
just,
it? Was it there that one time that it was me, you, and I think Amy, and they told us
that was
to
after my jazz band, my middle school jazz
and they
band
told us to
concert.
leave.
Yeah, and we sat in the parking lot until like 3.
Like, y'all, we can't leave until you all leave. We're like, oh, I'm sorry, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Right.
I'll help you roll silverware if you want.
Yeah,
like
easy.
We'll
we
give you
can
side work.
keep hanging
We have
out.
to.
Yeah.
I haven't been
But yeah.
out yet though, like the nightlife thing, which I haven't experienced yet. That's like the one thing I haven't done because I just frankly haven't had time.
That's lacking in.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
If
not-
you're not a
things-
student,
If
That's
you're
what
not a
I've
student or you're not like 50 or 60 hanging out at Mix, like you're not
Yeah.
getting a whole lot
Yeah.
of anything.
that's
so,
Mickey's.
yeah.
Oh
You
man.
kind of need to go to Nashville a little bit.
Yeah, Nashville's the
Which is
place.
fun. I
to be.
love that Nashville's only an hour away. Like I
Mhm.
actually love that because I'm a big concert person, big music person, obviously. And the fact that obviously everybody's going to go to Nashville at some point, like they kind of have to on their tours. Like I saw Glass
Mhm.
Animals, I had tickets to Childish Gambino. Like it was good. I like that a lot, and it's close. Like it's just down 65,
Mhm.
and I'm there in like an hour. It's easy.
That's one thing
And I
about
drive.
Bowling Green that's really nice is that, like, you know, Nashville sprawl, like, you know, you got sporting events, you got all that stuff,
Mhm.
but then like you're really not that far away. Like if you need to go, you want to go to Louisville or you go to Indianapolis or
Yeah.
everything's kind of an 8 hour, like max 8 hour drive. around
Yeah, I mean, I could go to
everything.
Chicago if I really wanted to. Like, Chicago's like 6 hours. So I'm thinking about going to Lolla next year. I think it'd be really fun. Indy would be really easy to go to for finals. It's 3.5 hours.
Yep.
I'm going to Taylor Swift in November. Like, that's super close. So it's funny. Like, I talked earlier.
If you have an
about
extra
how-
ticket for Taylor Swift, you need to get a hold of Chris's wife.
I've already.
She's been
I am
hunting
trying
and
to-
Been scammed
wish.
75 times by an old
Aw.
lady and
Oh no.
whatever else.
She has not been scammed.
I
she's
know.
she's very thorough
Okay,
with
good.
her
Good.
stuff. So
I got
but she is
lucky.
very-
I joined the lottery kind of as not as a joke necessarily, but I was like, oh, let's just see if it happens because I'm not a huge Swiftie. But Taylor Swift is like one of the artists that I feel like if I never saw live, I would be like upset, just production value. And 23 was like, I think it was like our last rehearsal day of the season, full rehearsal day, and I was like, I'm gonna sign up for the ticket lottery and just see what happens. And I picked Indy because I have enough people there that like I can go stay with somebody, and ended up winning. And I was like, oh, okay. So
go and see Taylor.
I guess I'm gonna go see
Mhm.
her. Look for that. That's gonna be good. But yeah, I love that everything is super close, and I think that I kind of touched on it earlier, but I feel like the universe was kind of looking out for me, putting me so close to like the band world still. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, we got excited when we heard Phantom last year was going to Kentucky Wesleyan.
Mm-hmm.
Was
We're doing it again
camping out
next
there.
year.
Yeah, I think
We'll be
that's
We'll have to
awesome.
make it up to spring training
We
next year.
need to make
Have
that
to.
happen.
Oh,
We
Yeah.
need to make that a day.
it's such a great little town to do spring training in. Like it's got everything we could need. The town embraced us like crazy. I didn't realize that Kentucky was as big
It's an
as
artsy
marching
town.
band state is. Like it's a
Oh,
big marching
yeah.
band state. I
Mhm.
didn't know that.
It's just small bands. That's all it is. It's,
Right, but
you
it's
know, we
still,
don't
like,
have.
They're still pretty decent. Like they're not.
Yeah.
Band scene's pretty big here. I was like, oh, okay. So like I remember our I don't know what you want to call it. Not open rehearsal, but like our God, what's the word I'm looking for? But we performed for the community performance. Duh. The stands were full, and like we had people in the back stands too, like just to be there for us. And I was just like, wow.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you
Thanks,
got you have
bro.
Music City that's kind of close, but I mean, like
Yeah.
to have a core like Phantom being that, you know, like from Louisville, it's like an hour and a half, 2 or something like that, maybe.
not bad.
I don't think it's
Not
that
bad
far.
at
So I
all.
mean, you got a lot of people popping in.
Yeah.
Come see
I
that.
experienced my first tornado siren there. That was terrifying. I'd never been to that yet.
That was the
happened.
welcome sound.
Yeah, it
That
was,
was
no,
so
literally,
loud.
it was the first weekend. We moved in Tuesday. That siren hit Saturday, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?" I was so scared. I don't like.
That sounds
tornadoes.
about right.
I picked the wrong state
Yep.
to do. But whatever. What can I do?
Ain't no sirens up here. It's just everyone for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Seattle's a completely different beast.
Yeah. We get
Zach-
tsunamis now, apparently, and forest fires.
Zach, you got anything else on there?
Last question we kind of typically ask, if you could have marched for any corps
Mhm.
or any show, what would it be? You kind of already lived your dream of Scouts, and you didn't march Phantom, but
Mhm.
you've experienced life with Phantom. So, is there
Yeah.
any other corps that you would have liked to have been a part of, or a specific show that you would like to have said that you were in?
Bluecoats, like bar none. Bluecoats. I have loved them forever. I love their shows. I love the innovation. I kind of love everything about them. I thought the Beatles show was really fun in 19. I loved that. Like I said, sucker.
How do you
for a
feel
Lil
about
Nas Geezer.
2013 To Look for America?
I don't think I've ever seen that show.
Good.
Oh,
There's your answer.
Thank you. That's what I'm gonna say. That's all you need to say.
Never seen that
whatever.
show.
There's a lot of haters about that one. I think it's a hidden gem.
I
Is
think it's
it?
cool that
But-
BRMB uses Tilt as their like hype video. They use
Yeah.
Tilt for their hype
The
video. I
first
think that's
game
really cool.
that I was at when I saw that, I was like, "Who did this?" Because only certain
yeah.
people are gonna notice and hear.
No, yeah.
That's Tilt.
Yep. I remember the week of the Toledo game, they were doing video board testing at Houch. And I like walk out to go get lunch and I hear Tilt. And I was like, I would know that pitch bend anywhere. What the hell
Yep.
is going on? And
It's
I
just the
like
BRMB.
texted. Yeah, the director of creative was the guy for Cavaliers for a couple of years, videographer over there. And I texted him and I was like, what the hell is this? And he was like, yeah, they use Tilt for their hype video. And I was like, no way. I thought it was really cool. I was like, losing up. I want to shoot BRMB at one point. I think it'd be fun at some point. But
We can get you.
We know people.
You know people too, but
I
we know
have the all
people.
access pass. I got it. I
Yeah,
got
right.
it. Really
Yeah,
I
so,
can
yeah.
just go do it. I just don't want to step on any toes because I know they have an official photographer, so it'd be the big thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
such good conversation.
Yes, and we will definitely have you back
Absolutely.
for sure to talk
Yeah.
some other stuff because
Oh,
we could have went another hour if we really
Yeah.
wanted to.
Oh,
You gotta
I
get
can-
on.
Um,
You gotta get on a react with us.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I'm down for that. I'm about it.
Yeah.
I feel
So-
like, does anybody, I feel like I'd bring a guard perspective. Nobody gives me vibes.
Yes,
of guard
Yeah.
that's. I told you we're gonna have a conversation
Yeah.
after this.
I feel like you need a guard
Um,
perspective in there.
Very much so. So you can first of all in the comments let us know what you think. Lots of really good jewels throughout this entire podcast. So for some people, long form is great. For some people, 15 minutes at a time. Come back and listen to the whole thing because it's all been great stuff. So comment down below what you thought about it. Any other questions you might have for Miss Katie and the such. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple. Why did I just draw a
Apple
blank?
Podcast.
Podcast. I don't. For some reason, I thought that was wrong.
Simple as
Wow.
My name's Ron Burgundy.
You
Anyway,
can listen to us on Apple Slices. I mean,
I don't know. Put some peanut butter on it; it'll
Yeah.
stick.
Apple.
Yeah.
Listen, it's almost fall break. It is almost
That's right.
fall break.
True.
We're almost there.
literally
So,
explains everything.
yeah, but Katie, where can we find you, or if you want to be found? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter handles are just my name. Instagram, there's a hyphen between the first and the last name, underscore, not a hyphen. But I do want to plug my photo Instagram. It's c.lamas photography. That's where I post kind of all of my drum corps stuff, and I'll be posting throughout the year my favorites from the year. And of course, follow the Phantom Regiment. Always, I'm on there. I'm the photographer. I'll be posting photos, throughout the off season, so I'm there too. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
So go check out her work for sure. And if you're
Yeah.
local, check out her work that she's doing for Western Kentucky because it's equally as amazing. So
Thanks, guys.
But,
Thanks for having me on, y'all. It was good. This was
thank
fun.
you. Yeah,
I like
this
this.
was
It was
yes.
yeah, it's been a blast. So for Zach, Chris, Will, and Katie, my name is Cedric. This has been another episode of On the Back Hash. Make sure you go out and watch a marching band show this weekend, and still prayers up for folks affected by Helen. Was it Helen? Helen or Helen? Helene, okay.
Yeah.
And just stay safe. Think about those folks. So from us to you guys, it's been a great show, and we are Dut out.
You gonna end it? Are you just gonna sit there?
I did. I hit the button.
It says we're still recording, sir.
The button had been hit.
Yeah, this is the extra content.